What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy the D here, aka Jeremy Wilder, hero name Axis, number 9 on the US Hero Billboard charts. Coming at you today with a recap video. As I said, I'm doing recaps for the series that I used to actually review. So next up is My Hero Academia, and I've been kind of really excited to talk about this, although I've had no idea actually how. So I figured step number 1, just catch up and just kind of briefly recap the events that have happened since the last chapter I did. Last chapter that I actually reviewed was chapter 293. So from 294 all the way up to the current chapter 338, I'm gonna go ahead and do a review. Well, I'm gonna talk about the events that have happened. So I've made a bullet point list, which I thought was gonna be like 2, maybe 3 pages, which turned out to be 5. Goddamn. And you know My Hero Academia chapters are kind of filled with like details, especially with us going into the final arc, which I want to talk about how the fuck that's even possible. But anyway, without further ado, so I'm gonna break it up into chunks. So yeah, so there are gonna be chunks of information, with like the third chunk being long than a bitch. Yes, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. My Hero Academia recap, section chapters 294 to 306. Okay, this one starts off with the fight with All For One / Tomoe Shigaraki, which, damn, continues. And it's here that their inner worlds kind of mesh, and we learn that with enough hatred, Shigaraki can actually be able to steal One For All. Yeah. That rule that we were taught so long ago, there is an exception. Well, there's an exception to every rule, and here we learn that with enough raw emotion, it can be stolen. 'Cause that's the thing about All For One. The guy's got no emotions. Well, at least no hatred. It's like he can feign emotion, but he never really feels it. So with Tomoe Shigaraki, he could actually be able to steal it. Because as we know, well, within this fight, we learn that quirks contain consciousness, and this leads into One For All. But All For One, his quirk was cloned. The one that he was using when he fought All Might, and for God knows how long, was a clone of his original quirk. But Tomoe has the original. And that has his consciousness, and his consciousness is starting to eat away at Tomoe's and gain control of his body. It's here that we learn that throughout the time when he was stealing quirks, vestiges of the users of those quirks, kind of like One For All, would appear and degrade him. So yeah, but that'll always stop when he transferred the quirk somewhere else. So yeah, vestiges, that whole thing. But as that's happening, but after that happens, you know, Deku wakes up. But what wakes him up, he doesn't just just wake up. No, it's the 4th quirk user. It's the 4th user of One For All's quirk that awakens him. Danger sense. It's pretty much a Spidey sense. If you know about Spider-Man. It's the Spidey sense. Pretty much, it gives him the ability to know when danger's coming. So the fight finishes, and in this, yet again, they have another moment where their consciousness kind of merges, Deku's and Tomoe's, and Deku kind of sees Tomoe as someone who would need to be saved, which, Jesus, man, after everything he's done of his own volition, I couldn't do it personally, but hey, that's Deku. So anyway, in the aftermath of the battle, it is revealed that a number of heroes were killed in the attack, including UA teacher Night Eye, and damn. Now, with her death, we don't see her body we don't see her body getting crushed or anything. We know that she, along with a few other heroes, were taking on Gigantomachia when he was like coming through, and when the kids were trying to give him the sedative, and it's here that we find out that little skirmish ended her life, along with, I think, Native, who was the hero that Ingenium, Ida saved way back when they were about to fight Stain. We know that Crust got eliminated in the Decay Wave, as well as a few other heroes. Now, Shigaraki was able to escape, along with a few of their near high-end Nomu. They're not high-end Nomu, they're near high-end, thanks to Mr. Compress, who is an asshole, but damn it, you have to respect his resolve. Because during this whole thing, in order to get out of his restraints, he was taking out chunks of his torso. I think one of his butt cheeks, as far as his hip. He was using his compress quirk to take out chunks of his flesh to get out and allow them to escape. And it's here we find out about his backstory. Apparently, there was some bandit king, vigilante / villain, who would steal from the not true heroes, who would then give it to the poor. So some Robin Hood type shit. So he's captured, but everybody else, Dabi, let me see. Of course, like I said, Shigaraki / All For One, which that line is, they're toning that line of who's who. Of course, them, Dabi, Himiko Toga, a couple of the Liberation Army people. And I think, dang, I can't remember the guy with the long black hair and the computer. He got away too. He's been doing shit. But anyway, so they escape. He's able to rouse a couple of the Nomu. So not all of them escaped because some were causing distraction, which allowed them to escape. And in the aftermath, you see a hero who just looks at the devastation caused and is like, I need to find another work, and quits. That's going to be a thing. All right, and after the battle, Deku falls into a coma, but while he's asleep, in the following days, All For One attacks Tartarus. Now, we've seen the inside of Tartarus before, but this time we get to see in its full scale. It's not like on a plot of land. It's on like the prison itself is like a facility that raises, kind of like Impel Down from One Piece. It raises and it lowers and has like a bridge that connects to it, so that if somebody wants to attack, they can't just waltz up to there. They have guards who look like demons, fitting Tartarus, the Greek underworld, kind of. Well, or no, I think it's the Greek hell. And the guards are dressed like demons. But even then, we see a couple of the guards, and they're talking about the prisoners within and how humanity has been warped. One guard is like, hey, you shouldn't talk like that. Everything we say is recorded, and if there's a breach, we're already on the chopping block for some human rights violations. But in the midst of their conversation, some of the Nomu attack Tartarus, and then All For One coordinates with his consciousness, the vestige that's within Shigaraki, and then his original self. They communicate and they're able to bust out. Now, by doing this, he's able to release a couple of villains that we see. Muscular from the training camp, Kai Chisaki from the 8 Precepts of Death, Moonfish, yet again, from the training camp, the guy with the teeth, and of course, countless others that we don't see. Now, Hawk's backstory is revealed as just being that his mother, he was pestering his mother, she took him into town, and that's when he saved those people using his wings. That's when the Hero Safety Commission actually took him under their wing. It was like, okay, we'll do everything for you, blah, 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 blah. And then when him and Best Genius go to visit his mother, because he's like, okay, take Keigo Takami, or Takami Keigo, however you say his name. But that's a name that nobody should know, because I think his last name is Keigo, because I think it's Takami. Anyway, however his name goes, nobody should know my name, because with his father being a villain who Endeavor caught, any connection with them should be severed, because anytime somebody would say, oh, you're this villain's son, then that's going to be a thing. But no, he goes and he finds a note from his mother stating that she's sorry and that some men came, and that's how they found out. The League was eventually able to find who he was through his mother. Now, Hawks and Best Jeanist goes to the hospital where Deku is, because that's where All Might is, being by the boy's side. And they ask about One for All, and then All Might informs them of the secret, tell them about, the connection with All for One and all that. Because yet again, Deku, remember when the attack was happening and Tomura woke up and started moving, Deku, was the one who told Endeavor, like, hey, he's after me. And then, I think Tomura at that point was muttering One for All. So, during this whole thing, Endeavor has a chat with his family. Now, I'm trying not to talk too deeply about this specifically, because with Endeavor, a lot of things he's done, it paints him in a certain type of light, and it could trigger some people. But we learned about Dabi. Dabi was born with a fire quirk that is either a match or superior to his father's, but his constitution is like his mother's, meaning that his constitution is made for an ice quirk, not a fire quirk, so he would burn himself often. So, pretty much. Or did we already talk about that? No, I think we already talked about that. Well, just to catch you up, he was raised to, when they noticed his power, he was raised to be a hero. But when they found out, they told him to stop. Now, with this, it's kind of like, just to give my sense, it's kind of weird, because yes, Endeavor was an abusive father and an abusive husband. I'm not gonna fight that point. But at least when it comes to Dabi, not so much. Yes, he put the idea of being a hero in that boy's head, but when they found out that that would be a detriment to his health, they told him to stop, and he didn't. So at least now with the other kids, because with the other kids and the wife, Endeavor's wrong, but with Dabi, it's not as bad as the others. He tried to stop him, but yet again, the boy was fixated, and nobody thought to, hey, let's get this kid some counseling or some shit. But hey. So anyway, because Ray told his wife, or soon to be ex-wife, they endeavor, like, okay, look, we're gonna work together, we're gonna stop him, because this is kind of our problem. So anyway, moving on, we cut over to Deku, who is in a coma, due to the aftermath of the fight, because remember, he got his ass tore the fuck up. And while in the coma, Deku converses with the past users, and that's where he finds out that One for All has not only been collecting quirk factors, but consciousness. And that's why All Might's vestige is the way it is. He has no quirk factor. So what One for All got from him is pretty much a piece of his consciousness held within it. Now, it's here that we find out that though that part of All Might cannot speak currently, that might change, but currently it cannot speak, it's just there. It can act as a conduit, because the whole time Deku was asleep, All Might is touching him. Not like that, please. He's got his hand on his arm. And from there, he can kind of, in a way, feel what they're talking about. And it's here we learn that that's a two-way street. Because he speaks with the fourth user. Damn, what was his name? Well, look, he speaks with the fourth user, and it's there that they find out how he died. He introduces himself, tells him, like, yeah, my quirk was danger sense. But what's weird about me is I died of old age at 40 years old. And it's here that they learn that the strain of having multiple quirks can kill a person. He was only 40 years old when he died, but he died of old age. That's what the autopsy said, and that's what All Might scribbled out of that notebook. So pretty much they can kind of glean what All Might's been learning and doing, as well as he can kind of do it for them. Except it seems to be clearer on their side than his. Now, the reason All Might scribbled it out is because he thought it would kill Deku. No. Even though because it's pretty much like all these quirks are tied into one. The numerous quirks are now part of One for All. So pretty much One for All can, from this point on, or at least it should have been, only been wielded by quirkless people. So what they say is that Deku could potentially be the last wielder of it, because being quirkless is so rare now, he may never run across a person who needs such power. Now, it's also stated that Daigoro Banjo, the 5th user of One for All, and I can't remember his last name, the 6th user, the boy with the black hair who gave it to Nana Shimura, both of those times, All for One tried to steal it, but he was unable to. And that's where we kind of get into him lacking emotions. But with Tomura's power, with his raw hatred and emotion, it may be able to overcome them, and now it could actually be stolen. Also, Nana Shimura, now that she knows that Tomura Shigaraki, which I think his real name is Tenko Shimura, is now the ultimate villain, she asks Deku if he can really kill her, if he can really kill him. To which Deku says that he should actually just worry about saving him, and killing him isn't an option. It's that very thing that they were looking for. It's that unbridled innocence and want to save people, and that's why I like Deku as a protagonist. Yeah, it's kind of cliche, but I like how genuine it is. Now, we also learn that in the aftermath of the battle, both Gran Torino and Aizawa Sensei have both lost their legs. Not both legs, but one leg each, which essentially puts Gran Torino out of the battle. Well, not out of the battle, out of the hero game. Now, upon Deku waking up, he decides that with his ability to be tracked by Shigaraki, he needs to leave. So he leaves a note to all of his classmates explaining what, the secret of One for All and its connection with All for One, and leaves. And it's there we see him, in his hero uniform, a little tattered up, wearing Gran Torino's, his little cloak cape thing. He wears that now on top of his uniform. And it's here that we see that chapter 307 on is going to be the final battle, the final arc. Now, starting the next chapter, it's here that we see that society has been plunged into a post-apocalyptic setting. Like, there are barren streets, buildings are torn everywhere, because pretty much what's been happening is that people have lost, in the aftermath of everything, the battle, people have lost faith in heroes. So regular citizens, untrained citizens, have A, lost faith in heroes, B, they've started taking violence in their own hands, and now we see the problem with that, because now you have people who aren't trained in counter ops fighting villains, so there's actually way more destruction than there normally would be if people let a hero handle it. Also, heroes have been quitting. Like Yoroi Musha, the number 9 hero, the armor hero, quit, as well as others. Some heroes can't take the pressure of the society is now, and they decided to quit. Now, we pick up seeing 2 hero students, both who we saw back at the license exam. I think they were from Shiketsu? No, not Shiketsu. The other school. We have the guy, we have one of the chicks who could, she could, I don't know, her power is like a turtle or some shit, but we got the guy who uses shockwaves. So they find an encampment with civilians and try to convince them to go into the safe zones, but the civilians, they're not trying to hear it. Now, they receive a call telling them to run, that he's near. And shortly before they can even answer, we see Muscular, who now goes by Jailbreaker, arrive to stop them. Now, Buddy with the shockwaves hits him with pretty much a localized earthquake, and it does some damage, but not enough to put him down, and he's hurt. But before he can continue, we see Deku arrive, in a badass. Like, I love the way Deku looks. Yet again, he can't keep it up because, you know, yet again, you can tell my man probably hasn't showered in a good while or had a good night's sleep, but he is looking mean. And we see that during the fight, he is now able to use the quirks of the 4th, Danger Sense, which is how he knew they needed help. The 6th ends Smokescreen. So the 6th user, his power was Smokescreen, and then he's able to now more freely use Nana Shimura's quirk, Float. Now, Deku tries to reason with Muscular, who pretty much only thing he's interested in is just indulging himself in violence, which he finds pleasurable, and that's the only thing he wants to do. So Deku tries to reason with him, but eventually he settles on having to actually defeat him using a semi 100% attack. Now, it's to be noted that the reason he was able to take him out so easily, that localized earthquake that the student whose hero name is Grand was able to do, it loosened some of the fibers deeper within. So Deku was able to penetrate his defenses easier. So after Deku defeats Jailbreaker, he hands him over to the police, and he rejoins All Might, because pretty much him and All Might aren't at UA. So All Might is pretty much being his like go-to between Endeavor and Hawks, who are following him. So they talk about the gauntlets on his arm, because we noticed that he has, instead of it just being his green sleeves or him not wearing anything underneath, his arms are wrapped in like a red tape-like substance, which are gauntlets. They're support items from America that he got before the border shut down. So here we learn Japan has been shut down and isolated from the rest of the world while All For One is doing his thing. So Deku immediately runs off, and he's like, hey, I gotta go, because yet again, with Shigaraki / All For One's ability to track him, he's like, I can't stay in one place for too long or somebody's gonna get hurt. He's gonna come looking for me. So Deku immediately runs off again. And while All Might's on the phone with Hawks, as they discuss why he continues to move. Pretty much, Hawks believes that Midoriya should just go ahead, be careful, and probably should go to get some rest, while All Might, pretty much goes with Deku. Like, an offensive approach would be the best. Here's the thing. Yeah, we have to remember about All Might. All Might is trying to support Deku, which is great, but they are the same type of person. They worry about others before they worry about themselves, and that could be kind of detrimental to them. But we then go on to a flashback, and we learn that Deku suffered injuries that were similar to the ones that he suffered before when he was using 100% when he wasn't modulating his power. Now, I thought that it might come to the point, because the doctors back then were telling him, hey, if you ever do something like this again, you're not going to be able to use your arms. But it's here that we learned that due to him learning how to control more of One For All at 45%, and also it seems that he used Black Whip to enforce his arms. It's like, yet again, the doctor said, it's like the mini explosions before, but instead of them being on your bones, it was on your skin. So, yeah, it hurt. It just isn't the same type of injury. Now, while at the hospital, Mrs. Midoriya is informed of One For All. They finally decide, like, okay, I think it's time we told your mother. Although they probably should have told his mom back then, but whatever. Now, it's here that Deku finally decides and tells everybody, like, look, he can hear me. He knows where I am right now. There are people in this hospital. There are people I care about in this hospital. He knows where I am. I gotta go. And Mrs. Midoriya tries to stop him, but Deku is bound and determined. Like, look, he knows where I am. He can find me any time of day. No matter who's guarding me, he can come bring his army and find me. I gotta go. So it's then that All Might promises, hey, I'm gonna go with him, and then they tell Genus, Hawks, and Endeavor about it. And they decide, like, okay, we're gonna follow him. We're pretty much going to be on his tail, but we're gonna be like 10 steps behind just to make sure we're at a safe distance and we can help him if he needs it. Chapters 310 through 316. Deku continues to save people with All Might. He saves people with All Might. All Might is the one who transports them to UA, actually. He dropped them off and drive away. And Deku continues to converse with the vestiges in them while contemplating All For One's looming threat. So pretty much like even the messages are kind of like, yo, you need to do this, you need to do this. They're advising him. So like really he's on some Avatar stuff. Like when Aang used to talk to Roku, Kyoshi, Kuruk, Yangchen, and the others, this is what he's doing. Now we flash back inside One for All before Deku woke in the hospital. It's here that Yuichi the First requests the help of the Second and Third, who are adamant about not getting involved in this shit. But it's kind of hypocritical because even he notices you showed up. Normally it's just us, but you two, Second and Third, showed up. Now it's here that as he's trying to convince them, he reveals that they were the ones who rescued him from All for One, and thanks to them freeing him, it's what allowed him to eventually fight back. Now, the reason they're really kind of skeptical is they're like, dude, he wants to save this kid. We need to eliminate him. They're on that time, because remember, this is during the early time of quirks where All for One was probably even worse than it is right now. And All for One was running rampant with nobody to stop him. There was no One for All hero running around. There was just All for One. But Yoichi then reminds them that it was their desire to help him despite his connection to All for One. Because remember, Shigaraki is his protege / new host body. Yoichi was his brother. He's like, y'all knew what I was to him. But instead of just leaving me there to die or killing me yourself, you helped me. And it was their desire to save that's even given them the chance over the years to fight back. So we then flash over to Endeavor, who after stopping some escaped convicts, he's accosted by some angry civilians for failure to stop All for One, as well as the thing Dabi did. Pretty much they're a group of people who've been hurt by Dabi. They've lost loved ones people who Dabi have killed. And Endeavor, instead of saying something, he's like, look, let's just go, it's gonna make things worse. So they then discuss like everything that's happened. Like, okay, we're losing heroes. This man is running around rampant. He's gathering, because it's not just the convicts that were free from Tartarus that they have to deal with, because he attacked other prisons as well. And then on top of that, villains who are already on the streets, they're starting to join it, because now he's back to his old ways. He's back to being the man who you go to. You want to stir some trouble? You want to fuck some shit up? Go to All for One. He's the man he's the man with a plan who can make it happen. Now, Deku is yet again moving throughout Japan. He's just going wherever he's needed. He's making sure to keep on the move. And as he is trying to call All Might for something, his danger sense goes off, and the phone that he's been using is destroyed. And from a long ways away, we can see a woman with a rifle-borne arm looming over him. Now, we then get a flashback that reveals that due to the state of All for One and Dr. Garaki, the doctor who was helping him, being detained, the villains can no longer preserve quirk factors. So pretty much they're discussing it. Like, okay, with All for One in the state he's in, pretty much the Tomura's body, because All for One still got his real body, but Tomura's was going to allow them to steal One for All. And with Dr. Garaki being detained, they can no longer preserve quirk factors, so they have to take him alive. So Hawks, while he's talking to Midori, he's like, look, he broke everybody out of Tartarus. There's somebody who can capture you alive. If you see them, you've got to run. She will destroy you. And it's here that we see that the woman who attacked him is the very person that Hawks was talking about. He said she used to be a senior of his. She used to work for the Safety Commission just like he did. Lady Nanjant. And then Deku, as he's being attacked, he goes and he looks and he sees her. I think blue, like dark blue and pink hair, rifle for an arm, that's her. So he tries okay, so Deku then goes on okay, how can I outthink this? How can I outthink the situation? How can I make this work to my advantage? continues to fire on him, giving him no time to formulate. So we get a flashback in an interview with Snipe, who is revealed to be the number 25 hero. He explains how his quirk and how Nanji can do everything that his quirk does with just skill. So pretty much, Snipe's skill, his quirk is Snipe. Pretty much, whatever he shoots or tosses, anything within a kilometer radius, he can hit. Like, if he throws a pin behind him and you're in front of him and you're his target, it'll go back to, it'll like round out and hit him and hit you. That's how his quirk works. So pretty much, she can do all that shit with just skill. She can curve bullets with just skill. And then on top of that, her range is 3 kilometers. So Nanja keeps firing shots. It's revealed that she has the armless Kai Chisaki. Damn, I can't remember what his villain name was. Remember, leader of the 8 Precepts of Death guy in the bird mask, everything's dirty? Him. So he's delusional, calling out his boss, and we flash back to the Taurus breakout where All For One asked Nanja to pursue and capture Deku. Now, obviously, she's like, look, once upon a time, I was tasked with killing you. Why should I help you? So then they go into it. She is also disillusioned with Hero Society, kind of like Stain and a lot of people are now. And he's like, look, help me, I'll help you. And Deku thought he was safe, but unfortunately, in that same flashback, it's revealed she was given a little something, a down payment of sorts with helping him. Airwalk. So not only can she do all that stuff I just said with a rifle for an arm, and her quirk, she can also bind her hairs into her ammo, and they can be whatever ammo she wants. Hollow points, slugs, whatever. Them things, she can outdo any type of ammo with her hair. So not only can she do that, she can walk on the air as well. So All Might, noticing that Deku, hey, he's not answering. He's being attacked by some random cards and is able to, some random villains while driving his car, Hercules, and he's able to deduce, okay, this is a little weird. I can't get in contact with Deku when I'm being attacked. Okay, something's wrong. Deku needs help. So Deku discovers that Nanja's possession of an extra quirk and uses smokescreen to conceal himself in order to activate the third quirk, Fajin. So Deku then removes Gran Torino's cloak, his mask, and I think one of his gauntlets, and he uses Fajin to propel himself up through a nearby building and grab her. He continues to fight with Nanja as she exposes her history working for the Safety Commission. She explains that she used to do classified missions for the Hero Commission, and she thought it was for the good of society. And it's here that we see, she'd kill people. Like, if a gang of villains if a hero was colluding with villains to get fame, kill him. Or if a hero was questioning or beginning to come disillusioned with society, kill him. Her hands were red with blood, and she was showing signs of PTSD and disillusionment then. So we are shown in the flashback of her questioning the then president of the Safety Commission on whether or not she really has to. Now, he makes a veiled threat. He's like, look, this isn't a job you can walk away from. And she kills him in response. So when we cut back to the present, she's like, Deku's like, wait a minute. You were supposed to have killed a hero in an argument. And that's when she's like, oh, you're really? No. I killed the president of the Safety Commission. They just told you I killed another hero. So technically, she's not even a hero killer. So Deku, he continues to use Fajin, which is a quirk that, with a repeated motion, it allows for the storage and release of kinetic energy. So she's like, okay, she pretty much sees anybody with a hero's education as being brainwashed. So she's like, okay, if I kill him, because remember, she has no connection to this motherfucker. She just brought him along because she thought he was going to be useful. So she's like, cool. If I kill him because I'm trying to kill you, that's gonna keep you up at night. So she aims and fires at Chisaki. And he uses Fajin along with his one for all cowling at 45% to create a full 100% movement and is able to get Chisaki out of the way. He's then able to use a full 100% Manchester Smash to damage her arm cannon, disabling her. And as he catches her, he informs her that he knew that the shot that she shot at Kai was off and it wouldn't have killed or hurt him. And that if she really wanted to capture him, earlier she'd have aimed lower for his legs or his pelvis to really keep him from moving. He continues to speak to her and tells her that she can, she could be saved, but she begins to glow. And then we see a flash of All for One, saying that he included a failure clause and Naja explodes. Her charred body falls and is caught by Hawks, but she isn't dead. Hawks speaks with the barely conscious Naja and she tells them that within 2 months she was supposed to bring Deku to a certain location. And as this is happening, Kai becomes hysterical, yelling at Naja about their deal, like, hey, we had a deal, you're supposed to, because this whole time he's yelling about his boss, he wants to see his boss. So Deku says that if he's willing to apologize to Eri, he'll make sure that he can see his boss. The heroes convene at the location that Naja gave them, and All for One appears on a recording, pretty much saying, you really thought you were going to get me, but it's my time now, baby. And blows the building. It's then revealed that the heroes are operating out of a warehouse, near the docks. The heroes escape the explosion and are now discussing the state of everything. Oh, and also this is chapters 317 through 328. They want to expand the search for the League and assist Deku, but they are losing heroes every day. It is revealed that Desutagoro, if you're wondering who that is, that's the hero back in the beginning. The guy who was really big, muscular. He used to have like those safety signs with the gears coming at him on his arms and head. That nigga quit too. And it's also revealed that every time a hero leaves, they leak information and they could end up hurting Deku. So they're trying to keep their circle small. So now, of course, All Might and Deku, the students of UA, Principal Nezu, some of the police officers, and Edshot, Kamui Woods, and Mount Lady, along with the top 3 know. So they're like, okay, we really can't let this get too out of hand, because people are starting to put together and they're going to blame him, and we can't let that happen. So it's then they receive a call that Deku ran to another hired gun, but we see that he disputes him off screen, and as he walks away, he's looking quite villainous. Like I said, his suit is tattered and he hasn't slept. And as All Might tries to help him, like, hey kid, you might need to take it easy, he severs their connection because yet again he believes that he could end up hurting All Might by being close to him. So Endeavor, after hearing this, calls Deku. He's like, look, kid, you gotta stop. We're getting some help. The date for the foreign heroes, because they've sent out a SOS to the other nations, and they're trying to come up with a way to deploy these foreign heroes to help, because normally that'd be something handled by the Safety Commission, but along with those prison breaks, the Safety Commission was attacked, and all of them were either injured or killed. So the Safety Commission, things that the Safety Commission would handle, haven't been able to be handled. So that's also a thing. And he's like, look, that's gonna happen pretty soon. You can just relax, go back to UA. But Deku pretty much just ignores him and just runs off. So the Vestiges begin to talk amongst themselves, not Deku. They're like, okay, this kid really needs to take it easy. Like, he's on some, he's walking a path of loneliness. But they also say that, it's what he wants. He's still being a hero completely, but our power manifesting in him has really allowed him to do everything that he can pretty much do a lot by himself that one person normally wouldn't be able to do. He's a true superhero. So he continues to search for All for One. When he runs into Dictator, he uses a quirk that controls people. So Deku is mobbed by a bunch of civilians who are under control of Dictator. Now, the thing about Deku is he's soft-hearted. So if it was me, I just hurt him to, pretty much help, well, not help them, but, get them off me. Deku won't even do that. And on top of that, he's tired. This kid hasn't had a good night's sleep in God knows how long. And he's overwhelmed by them. So, Dictator, most likely being a hired gun, is pretty much like within an inch of actually capturing Deku when Bakugo appears and uses one of his AP armor-piercing shots on Dictator, which ends his control and allows them to actually be freed. Now we see a flashback of Class 1A deducing that All Might and Deku are working with the top three after Deku's goodbye, and they are able to convince Principal Nezu to set up a meeting with Endeavor, who confirms their suspicions. In the present, the students attempt to convince Deku to come back, which he refuses and prepares to fight them. Now, Deku tries everything he can using smokescreen, float, black whip, everything he can, short of fighting them, to get away. But every time, all of the Class 1A, except for Aoyama, actually just tell him, like, bruh, we're your friends. We are your friends. We've signed up for this. Look, we know the storm ahead and we want to help. And it ends with him finally accepting when Todoroki and Ingenium are able to recreate the scene where Bakugo was saved with him. So after they recreate that, and he finally accepts, like, okay. And on top of that, he's tired. Kid can't really fight. If they were trying to fight, they'd have beat his ass. But yeah, before they return, Bakugo gives a heartfelt apology for all that he's put Izuku through, showing that yes, he's grown and he's noticed everything that he's done. Now, once they get back, the civilians are wholly against Deku coming to shelter due to his connection to All for One through being a successor of One for All. Remember, information was leaked and people started knowing the phrase One for All. So Class A continues to speak to them, but yet again they're not having it. But Uraraka is able to have a rousing speech, which pretty much absolves their fears temporarily, with them agreeing that if they let Deku come and let him rest, he'll be able to become the savior that they need. Now, after, that all happens, we cut over to All Might, who is seeing a statue of himself with a sign around the neck saying, "I am not here." It's there that Stain, the hero killer, who is speaking like a fucking religious zealot in regards to All Might, who, yet again, he doesn't know about All Might, being dilapidated. So even when All Might tells him, he doesn't believe it. So it's there that they hide with, Stain still having a sword to All Might's throat, and they look and they see a woman taking off that sign, cleaning off the statue. And it's here that we find out that this woman is the last person that All Might saved. The battle in Camino Ward, when All Might blocked that super punch from All for One, the woman who was in the rubble asking All Might to save her, she's the same one, and she's been doing that every day. So, after a tense conversation, Stain then gives All Might a piece of information from a dying guard in Tartarus. It's pretty much a waveform, and during the breakout, we see in a flashback that the guard pretty much was guarding that, and he was wanting to get out, but he was hurt, dying, and Stain took it to him. And as Stain was leaving, the guard asked, "Are you a savior? Or are you a beast? Or are you an ally?" And he says that he only acts in accordance to what's right, but he's still a beast all the same. All Might hands the information over to the active heroes and the police, and informs them of two things. First, even though they intercepted a communication that said 38 days, it was actually going to be 3 days until Shigaraki is complete. And the second, the way they broke out was that Shigaraki and All for One were actually communicating via radio waves. So that's how they coordinated the attack, to use EMPs to shut down Tartarus and actually break out. Finally, During a meeting with the United Nations about how they're going to deploy to Japan, Star and Stripe, America's #1 hero, is actually on her way to take out All for One. And without being deployed, they hadn't decided to deploy her yet, but she just decided that she's going to go ahead and go anyway. It is revealed that she knows All Might. Alrighty, next section. Star arrives in Japan now, and what's dope is she's not like inside a jet, she's riding on top of a jet. She has a fleet of stealth bombers as her entourage. So she arrives in Japan's airspace, and they're like, okay, we need to start trying to communicate with somebody and get somewhere to land so they can meet with Endeavor and the others. But it's here that we see that All for One / Tomura have intercepted her in midair. So Tomura launches an attack, and Star nullifies it with her quirk, New Order. He uses an EMP attack, but it is explained that after touching that New Order works by anything she touches and calling its name, she can change its properties by assigning a new rule, such as creating a vacuum. After touching the air, she can make it so that the air for 100 meters in front of her does not exist, thereby blocking the EMPs. It's also explained that she can only set 2 new rules at a time, and one she uses for herself, powering her up. And we learn about her backstory, that her family were going to appear in California, and All Might, during his tenure in America, saved her, and that is what inspired her to be a hero. So she's eventually able to touch Tomura and declares that if he moves, his heart will stop. She touches him, Tomura Shigaraki. If you move, your heart will stop. But due to All for One's consciousness taking over and warping his idea of self, it doesn't work. Inside their mind, they're taking stock of everything that's happened, and All for One states that Tomura is 98% complete, so he's almost done. The fight continues with Star touching the air again, forming a giant replica of herself out of air and molding the lasers from her teammates into a giant spear, and it's her special move, Kera Unos. But it doesn't defeat Tomura / All for One, and she uses it to keep him down, to prepare for her true ultimate move. She received a communication from Mr. Agpar in America, and he tells her that this stunt is going to cost her hero license, but he's not angry. He's sending the hypersonic intercontinental cruise missiles known as Tiamat to assist her. In a flashback, we are shown Star, real name Cassie Bate, training with some others, her team, lamenting the fact that she can only power herself up so much, and that some people, when they hear this, they would say, hey, you're just a girl. But her teammates would always treat her with respect regardless of gender, and they never said that. So she ends her laser rule and touches one of the Tiamat missiles and slams them into All for One, but is revealed that right at the moment of impact, he used the K to actually tunnel deeper to minimize the damage. And as she's about to follow up her attack, she notices, she could blow up. She would have to blow up one of her teammates, and she hesitates and allows him to palm her face. He then reveals that his plot All for One remembers that his plot was specifically tailored for him to be able to steal One for All, then challenge New Order, but because she came, he went ahead and took the chance. So with this, All for One is able to steal her quirk, New Order, and simultaneously cause her to begin to decay and crumble. And then he tries to make use of New Order, but his body is racked with pain, and a vision of Star, smiling smugly, appears before him. As this is happening, Star announces that she set a new rule at the exact last second, which causes New Order to revolt against other quirks, destroying him. So pretty much she set it so that if her quirk was stolen, it would destroy other quirks. So All for One begins to panic, and he's like, oh no. So he wants to scramble and force his quirk onto someone else. But as she dies, he's like, he wants to on the pilot, but they are still pelleting him with laser fire, so he's like, screw it. So eventually he's able to actually escape, and he finds a convict and he steals that man's quirk and forces her quirk onto him, effectively, taking it out of the battle. So the world learns of Star's death at the hands of All for One, and then that causes them to rescind their impending aid to Japan, leaving Japan stuck on their own. The surviving pilots land and meet with the top heroes and hand over all the data taken from Star's fight and give it to Japan in order to aid in their battle. After analyzing it, they discover that the damage the Star did will make it so that Shigaraki is going to take an additional week to complete. So while he's waiting, All for One converses with Dabi regarding his methods and admonishes him for his one-track mindset. He informs him that he always has multiple routes with the same end goal and friends who will assist in making the plan a reality. Now, that brings us to our current chapters. At the end of that chapter, we see not Himiko Toga, the Invisible Girl. I can't remember her name right now, but we see her. And for a long time, everybody thought that she'd be the traitor. But in a twist, she isn't. The traitor is revealed to be Aoyama. I can't stop twinkling his name. But anyway, it was revealed that he was actually born quirkless, and that there was a rumor going around that his parents heard that if you want a quirk, there's somebody you can go to, and that person being All for One. So they contacted All for One, and he was able to give Aoyama a quirk. Now the thing about Naval Laser is because remember, he uses his quirk, it makes him sick. So not only was he given a quirk, but it's one that was not a good fit for his body. But in exchange for that, he has had to do everything that All for One has asked. The alarm system, tell them about the USJ, Aoyama. The training camp, Aoyama. Anything to do with the with UA being breached or the villains knowing something they shouldn't have, Aoyama. Now, they do turn him in, and despite the extenuating circumstances, the police want to arrest him and do a full scan because they don't know if he's rigged to blow just like the others. But Deku and the others believe that Aoyama may be able to help them deceive All for One. Because the thing they're talking about is pretty much All for One holds all the cards. He can pop this battle off anytime he wants. They have the numbers and they can't find them. But with Aoyama, they may be able to. And even Aizawa, who's normally a hard ass, is like, hey, I believe in the kid, that it's just a fucked up situation. So with that, they have a plan to actually pop this off and potentially get one up on All for One. And then Deku goes, because yet again, his hero costume is fucked. So with an additional week, he can get his costume fixed. And as soon as he goes to the support department, guess whose titties end up in his face? And with that, we are officially caught up on My Hero Academia. Thank God. This took way longer than I thought it was going to. The One Piece recap did not take this long, but I'm about to go ahead and get started on the Black Clover. So from here on out, I'll be doing multiple chapter reviews per week, but they are not all coming out on the same day. This is too much to do in a day. But yeah, so what do you think? And I gotta find a way to talk about the final arc. But without further ado, thank you so much for listening to this. This has been your boy, the D20, signing out. Holla.